the toxic world we live in and how to survive it.
So one of the issues that we get into is just how toxic the world is. Most people don't realize it. They don't realize that the food they're eating is toxic. Yeah, think about that. They don't realize that things like, and we're starting to see people now talk about microplastics.
Ooh.
Ooh.
You're seeing a lot about microplastics coming.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much research on, they keep looking and saying, oh, we're finding it in the brain, we're finding it in the lungs, we're finding it in the heart, plaque and heart, we're finding it everywhere.
Yeah, so if you, so okay, did you have a heart attack because of your cholesterol or because it's the microplastics? Well, gee, who knows now? It's kind of like, now we're all of a sudden saying, well, gosh, this is kind of weird. We got microplastics in the plaque in your arteries? Who thought, you know? So, okay, we know that we got a real problem. I mean, a real problem. And, you know, a lot of the foods have things, I mean, pick up a can of soup or something. You're going to see something on there called bioengineered food or bioengineered product, okay? That tells you that you got, that's now the new code word for, used to be, we called it the genetically modified stuff, but now it's bioengineered. And so we got these bioengineered foods. Why do you think they bioengineer them? So we can put toxic stuff like glyphosate, you know, and Roundup and so on. And so, and you're consuming that. If you just gladly go to the grocery store, pick stuff up and don't know any better, don't pay attention. So we live in a really, really toxic world.
I think you were referring to like the GMOs. That's what I remember. Well, that's an old phrase.
That's an old phrase.
Right.
So you know, occasionally you have to do that. You know, people kind of pick up on GMO. Okay, well, what else can we call this? And it'll confuse the heck out of everybody for a long period of time. Then they'll figure it out again, and we'll change it again. But what they did was change it from GMO to bioengineered. Oh, so it's
that's one thing that you can do to protect your health is look on labels in the grocery store. I mean, we're going to tell you not to eat packaged processed food anyway.
Yeah.
But if you're going to, make sure it does not say that it's a bioengineered food. And so if it is, don't buy it. If enough people stop buying it, they'll stop doing it. So that's kind of one of the things that we tell people to protect yourself is don't eat that kind of foods. They really don't know what it's going to do to people long term. And so you don't want to be one that they find out with.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, that's one of the things you can do. And then of course he talked about microplastics. Start changing things away from plastic. It is hard.
It's tough.
It really is. I mean, we have plastic everywhere, and that's the problem. But you can do your part on not putting more plastics in you. It's in the air. We can't help that. There's things, we can't get away from it completely.
Hold on. You said plastics are in the air?
Yes, they say we're breathing them.
We are breathing in plastic.
Yes.
We are. Now, that sounds kind of far-fetched.
But it is. There's a lot of stuff out there about that.
If you think about it, let's talk about it. This is one that kind of, 20 or 30 years ago when this really first came out, it was kind of a light bulb went off in my head. They talked about when we breathe in things, we're breathing in like from the road dust. Well, your tires wear, right? I mean, they wear out. Eventually, you got to buy new tires. What happens to them? They wear. What happens to the wear? Well, microplastics, micro rubber, if you will, okay, whatever they're made out of, and it's probably not all rubber, but anyhow, whatever a tire's made out of, you winds up, abrasive, and so it wears out, and that stuff gets in the air, and we breathe it in.
Let's talk about the biggest place. I was reading an article on the biggest place people were breathing in microplastics. Laundry.
Oh, yes.
When you do your laundry, all the synthetic materials that you're using and all the plastic in the clothes.
Polyesters and so on and so forth.
They actually come out in the air, especially when drying. Now they do say to help with that, don't put as hot of water, doesn't bring out as much of the microplastics. Don't go as high heat on your dry cycle. Don't use as much laundry detergent, which I thought was strange. But I mean, this is what I'm saying. I'm just saying this is what the research has said. But they say that's one of the biggest places is laundry.
And clothing. Believe it or not, but now here, go out and try to find something that's all cotton or something.
It's hard.
It's tough. Okay, it's really we try it. Okay, we try to live what we preach, so to speak.
What we have on right now is not.
No, this stuff's definitely microplastic. Okay, this is macroplastics. Okay, this is not micro. But that's the thing we have to. First thing, when we talk about detoxification. Well, rule number one of detoxification is stop putting toxins in. I mean, that's rule number one. And to do that, you got to know where these toxins are.
Now,
like
things that make huge amounts of plastic, though, is heating in plastic. How many people buy stuff from the grocery store that is made to throw in the microwave in a plastic bag and heat it up? Horrible.
I believe I have something for lunch that is
horrible.
Meant to be heated in a plastic bag. So.
Horrible. We have not done, I can honestly say, I have not heated or stored in plastic in years, probably 15, 20 years.
And that's a question that a lot of times we'll ask when we go to a restaurant. Do they? I forgot what they call it, but they put chicken or whatever in a plastic. Yeah, put it in a plastic bag.
No, to cook it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
You're talking about sous vide.
Yeah. Okay.
When they put it in the plastic bag and it goes in the water.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So what you're doing is you're just getting all the outgassing from all that plastic, which has got these forever chemicals. I know you've heard about the forever chemicals, the PFAS and so on. Excuse me, but once I found out about it, one of the worst is something called PFAS, and the PFAS is used in a lot of your fire retardant stuff. Well, I want something that'll burn. Goodness gracious, if you're going to help, granted, it'd be nice if fire just didn't happen to begin with, but think about it. If you're going to put a chemical in there that make it not burn, and then that's going to soak into you for your skin, and you're going to breathe it, oh my jeez, I'm getting panicky just thinking about
everywhere.
It. Yeah.
A lot of the microplastics that end up in our system, a lot of it is because it's in the water.
Yeah.
Yes.
And pollution. People throwing things out. You got to think about that before you do it. You don't want to just throw plastic in the ocean, because then when we do eat our shrimp and crabs and fish, it's going to all have microplastics. And they do find that seafood has one of the highest amounts. We still eat seafood. I'm not saying but it's hard to get away from it, but you got to do what you can. So like I said, we tell people do not heat in plastic, do not store in plastic. And honestly, plastic water bottles are not the best thing either. Get you a stainless steel bottle or a glass bottle and keep your water in that. Get a reverse osmosis system, carry your water in something like that, and don't do so much plastic. And if you do the plastic, like I said, don't just throw it in the ocean or throw it in the, whatever. Recycle is one thing, and it is good, but there's too much plastic even to recycle.
Yeah, you look at some of the other countries like in the Netherlands and so on. They're very strict on their recycling thing, and because they understand that this stuff is everywhere. So what do we do to get it out of the environment as best we can? And they've done a pretty good job. They're very clean, and when you look at their environment, it's pretty pristine compared to us.
Yeah.
So we need to kind of pay attention here that this is something that we can control. For instance, we've taken up, believe me, it's been a task. Like if you store something either in glass or metal, in stainless steel is one of the things that we use a lot, like the water bottles and stuff with stainless steel. But trying to find that has been a real challenge.
Well, it's just more expensive.
Yeah.
They're always going to be a little bit more expensive, but it is worth a little bit extra money to do that. Just like the other thing that I'm going to tell you to do is worth the extra money, and that's eat organic.
Yes.
That's another place a lot of people are getting chemicals and a lot of people are getting toxins is in the food, and a lot of things that are sprayed. Now, people will say, oh, well, organic food is not that much more nutritious. Well, possibly not. Even if it's the same nutrition, it's lacking the chemicals or as much chemicals as the other. So it is worth that.
You're not eating organic because it's healthier.
Right, you're eating organic to get away from the chemicals.
It's cleaner.
Cleaner, yeah.
You're doing it because it's cleaner.
And where it's real important is in our meat. That's probably one of the most important aspects of your diet to look.
And there are some of the farms out across the U.S., I don't know of any around here, that actually do what they call sustainable farming. Now, they say their stuff is more nutritious because of the way the animals are fed and the way the animals are let out and never caged. And, that's where we buy a lot of our food from, honestly, is we actually order a lot online from, there's one in California, one in Virginia that we order a lot from.
Right.
So, and they do what they call even beyond organic, because it's not just about the chemicals, they also do stuff to make it healthier and healthier for the animals as well. So there's a lot that there are little changes you can start making.
A happier cow is a better burger. Is that what you're saying?
Right, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. So let's talk about so we've talked about ingesting, eating
Yep.
things. Let's talk about the toxicity in our general environment.
Well, that's a real issue too, and especially, we think, well, we're here in South Mississippi or wherever, and you're in the middle of the country, not much going on. Think about all the stuff that's happening on the West Coast, and prevailing winds come from the west to east, and therefore whatever happens out there gets dumped on us. And if it happens in Fukushima, it gets dumped on us. Because, they're not talking about that a lot, but a lot of your seafood, we're still getting contamination from the Fukushima nuclear reactor meltdown.
Seems like it
years
was
ago.
forever ago.
That was
Yeah,
it
that was
was
a
a
while
long time
back.
ago.
I
But
don't
it's
even know
still,
how long.
it's still a thing. It's in the scientific community, but it's not out in the public. And I think if the public knows this, we're going to say, well, wait a minute. I had a marine biologist back when that happened, and he was doing some freelance work at the time, working for FDA or somebody. And one of the things he said was, you don't want to eat any seafood at that time that was coming from the Pacific Northwest, because make sure because it was real hot at that time. Now it's not as hot now, but it still is a factor, and it is still talked about a lot in the in the scientific community. But the public has just kind of like, oh, okay, well, what the heck, it's all done, and we got to pay attention. I think one of the keys is to living in a non-toxic environment is pay attention to your environment.
Right.
Just pay attention.
And even cosmetic products and lotions and shampoos and all that stuff. You start looking at the chemicals in that. And sodium lauryl sulfate, you get the phthalates. You want to get all your stuff that is free of those things. And there's so much out there now that is, because that is a big trend going away from it. So there is many out there available. Like I said, we've talked about it before. You can go to ewg.org and Environmental Working Group, and you can actually put in what you're looking for, and they'll tell you the least toxic products, the most toxic products. It will tell you. Yeah. So the good thing is there's some really good things out there that can tell you what you should do and what you shouldn't.
Yeah,
you just have to be proactive and actually do it.
Yeah, what foods to eat, so to speak.
I was going to buy mascara not long ago, and I'm like, I want something different because I didn't like what I was using, and I knew it was non-toxic, but I went to that site, looked up ewg.org, put in mascara. It comes up as, okay, these are the cleanest. So it does. It actually does tell you. So things like that.
You and I don't have that
make
problem,
a
Chad.
difference. Y'all aren't going to buy mascara?
I don't use mascara. So.
It's Greek to me.
Well, mascara,
sometimes, if I'm in a show, I'll use it to color my beard if I can't have a gray beard. But now I'm going to have to look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just got to look at what's in things. And the good thing now with the internet, there's places you can go to look. So used to, we really didn't have anywhere. If you think about 30, 40 years ago, we just didn't know anything. We just were blind.
Right.
You're not anymore. So you got to start looking and got to start being a little bit better at what you eat, what you put on your skin, because what you put on your skin does soak in. People don't realize how much sometimes, but it does.
Yeah.
As the largest organ in your body, it absorbs everything.
It absorbs everything. So that's why I tell people, look at what you put on. Don't just go buy the cheapest thing that there is out there, because a lot of times that can be the most chemicals, and that's why it's so inexpensive.
Yeah.
And it might say there are great things in this lotion or in this moisturizer, but it's sometimes the good things that are in it are just on the surface level, and you go to look at the ingredients and it's loaded with the bad stuff as well.
Exactly.
Oh, exactly.
That's why we say with food, you go look at a label, and if it's a bunch of stuff you've never heard of and you don't have in your pantry, don't eat it.
Which is most of the things that
which is most. Exactly. Well, that's why I truly can say we don't eat a lot of packaged processed food.
No.
We get mostly, when we go to the grocery store, we don't have to go but one area. We go to the produce section because I order most of my meat online because of what I want to get.
It's hard to find locally.
So we do buy all we go in the grocery store, and the organic section's very small. So we get the stuff that we don't have to go very far.
Right, all in one area. We've got one question. Where do you start when it comes to living a life without the toxins?
I think the number one place to start, because it makes up the biggest nutrient that we have to have in our body, water. Clean water. And that means, okay, you may have to filter it, you may have to do a lot of other stuff to if you will, quote unquote, process it to where it is clean again. But that's where you start, because we have to replace the water in our body every day. Dehydration.
You can't live without.
You can't live without it. I know you might can live without food for a while, but water, not too long. And so that's a real issue. And so I'd start with the water. Really and truly. I think that's the number one starting place.
I feel like the healthiest, best flavored water that I drink all week long is in this cup every Monday morning.
And it's filtered 7 ways from Sunday.
It is. Well, it's filtered a few different times. This is from our house. We actually put in a reverse osmosis system, and then we get it reverse osmosis. Then it goes back through the filter in the refrigerator. So and then we get it from there. So, and that's why he brings us.
It tastes like the Holy Grail.
It is.
It's pretty crazy. All right, so are there any supplements that can help to eliminate toxicity?
There is. There's a lot that you can do for toxicity in supplements. A lot of people may have not ever heard of glutathione. Glutathione is something that your body produces because it's one of your body's own defenses against things. And it is big for detoxification. And it's great for the brain. Mm-hmm. It's great for a lot of different things. But glutathione is something that you can definitely take in supplement form. You can also take 2 things that make your body produce more glutathione, and that is N-acetylcysteine and alpha-lipoic acid. So those are also detoxifiers.
They're probably the 2 of the biggies. The reason we like to do that, now we have the long COVID thing we have to deal with too. And what we're seeing is a lot of when you look at the protocols for what do you do for long COVID? N-acetylcysteine, alpha-lipoic acid, which is going to produce more glutathione because that's one of the only ways to get enough glutathione in the body to actually make the body protect itself, so to speak. So that's a big starting point for us right there.
And then you get the herbals. People have heard of milk thistle and turmeric, and there's calcium D-glucarate. A lot of people never heard of that one either. It's actually, there's been a little book wrote about it written, not wrote.
South Mississippi coming out.
Sometimes.
Where it's called the nutrient for cancer. And they call it the nutrient for cancer because of the way it detoxifies.
Right.
And it gets rid of toxins and carcinogens, which of course, that's what you want. When you live somewhere that has toxins, which is everywhere. And so, like I said, calcium D-glucarate, limonene. There's so many different things that help with toxins. Yeah. There really are. And we have a lot of them in the store.
Well, and this is probably a conversation for a whole nother day, but there are prescribed medications that you can be taking or that are prescribed to you that could introduce some of these toxins into your system.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
If you go, they used to, the big blue books and red books that we had on our desk was called a PDR, Physician's Desk Reference, right? Well, they don't have that now.
It's all on computer.
It's all online. It's all online. But you start digging through that PDR and you start looking at what made up something as simple as, say, a simple blood pressure medication. And it scared the bejesus out of you. You're like, whoa, I don't want that in my body. Aluminum lake. Why would you use aluminum? Aluminum lake is basically something they use to make a pill form. So why would you want to put something like aluminum in our body? It's very toxic to the body. We know that. It's toxic to the brain. It's toxic to a lot of other organs. And this is, you brought up a really deep subject. That's a deep subject, but believe me. But it's one that people need to be thinking about. Okay, if you've got, for instance, blood pressure. Okay, if you got a little bit of blood pressure problem, and rather than just run out and say, okay, I'm going to take this blood pressure medication for the rest of your life, why don't you start doing something to change what might be causing your hypertension or your blood pressure?
What an idea. What a concept.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe you change your diet and lose weight and all
packaged processed foods.
Packaged processed foods.
I have people get off packaged processed foods and they cannot believe the difference in their health and the way they feel.
If it's made faster and it's made to last on your shelf and it's made to cook quickly in the microwave, if it takes you a while to cook it, that's good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, like I said, even people talk about oatmeal. I say get the old-fashioned. If you're going to do it, get the old-timey, steel-cut, old-fashioned oats that take a long time to cook.
Take a while.
Because if not, they've removed the fiber. They remove the fiber so that it will cook quicker.
And they remove the fiber so they can pack in other things that are not good for you.
Right. So you just got to start being conscious of what you eat, what you do, all that.
I'm Dr. Fox, and I want to thank you for watching this YouTube video. Be sure and hit that subscribe button. Hit that little bell so you'll be notified on any upcoming videos that we have coming up. And thank you again for watching our YouTube videos.